You stumbled across this video for a reason, and that reason isn't coincidence. There's something stirring beneath the surface of your reality right now, something you can't quite put your finger on, but you feel it. A restlessness, an anticipation, like standing at the edge of a cliff, knowing you're about to jump, but not knowing where you'll land. What I'm about to share with you isn't some feel-good motivation or wishful thinking. This is based on patterns I've observed across thousands of lives, studying the moments right before everything changes. And there's a specific sequence that happens before your biggest breakthrough arrives. Most people miss it entirely because they're looking for the wrong signs. Right now, as you're watching this, you're in what I call the recognition phase. You're starting to sense that something massive is building in your life, but you can't see the full picture yet. It's like trying to make out shapes in the fog. You know something's there, but the details remain hidden. Here's what nobody tells you about major life shifts. They don't announce themselves with fanfare. They don't show up when you expect them to. Instead, they creep in through the back door of your consciousness, disguised as ordinary moments that feel slightly off, slightly charged with meaning you can't decode. You've probably noticed these moments already. Maybe it was a conversation with a stranger that felt strangely significant. Maybe you've been having dreams that stick with you longer than usual. Maybe you keep seeing the same numbers or encountering the same type of person in different places. These aren't random occurrences. They're breadcrumbs leading you towards something that's been orchestrated long before you became aware of it. The first phase of this process is what I call the dissolution stage. This is where everything that's been holding you back starts to naturally fall away. Not in a dramatic, catastrophic way, but in a quiet, systematic dismantling of the structures that no longer serve your evolution. You might notice relationships becoming strained for no apparent reason. People you used to connect with suddenly feel like they're speaking a different language. Conversations that used to flow effortlessly now feel forced, empty. This isn't you growing apart from people. This is you growing into someone who requires a different level of connection, a different quality of relationship. Your job might start feeling suffocating in ways it never did before. Tasks that used to challenge you now feel mind-numbing. The environment that once felt comfortable now feels like a prison. You find yourself staring out windows, daydreaming about possibilities you can't even name yet. Old habits that used to bring you comfort suddenly lose their appeal. The TV shows you binged for hours now bore you after 10 minutes. The foods you craved now taste bland. The activities you used to lose yourself in now feel like distractions from something more important you should be doing. Most people panic during this phase. They try to force the old patterns to work. They push harder in relationships that are naturally fading. They throw themselves into work that no longer fulfills them. They cling to routines that have lost their meaning. But this dissolution isn't something to fight. It's something to surrender to. Because what's happening is that life is clearing space for something bigger to enter. You can't pour new wine into old wineskins. The old containers of your life have to break down before the new ones can be built. The second phase is what I call the amplification effect. This is where your sensitivity to everything increases dramatically. Colors seem more vivid. Music hits you deeper. Conversations carry weight they never had before. Even mundane interactions feel loaded with significance. Your intuition becomes sharper than it's ever been. You start knowing things without knowing how you know them. You walk into rooms and immediately sense the energy. You meet people and instantly understand their character. You make decisions based on feelings that prove to be exactly right. Dreams become more vivid, more symbolic, more prophetic. You wake up with solutions to problems you weren't consciously working on. You have conversations in your sleep that feel more real than your waking interactions. The boundary between your conscious and unconscious mind starts to blur in the most beautiful way. This amplification serves a specific purpose. It's preparing your nervous system to handle the magnitude of what's coming. Think of it like training for an Olympic event. You don't just show up and run the race. Your body has to be conditioned to handle the intensity, the speed, the pressure. During this phase, you might find yourself crying at commercials, laughing at things that aren't particularly funny, feeling overwhelmed by beauty you never noticed before. This isn't you becoming unstable. This is you becoming more alive, more present, more capable of experiencing the full spectrum of what life has to offer. The third phase is where things get really interesting. This is what I call the preview stage. You start receiving glimpses of the life that's waiting for you. Not full experiences, but tastes, samples, sneak peeks behind the curtain of your future. Maybe you have a conversation with someone that gives you a flash of insight into a career you never considered. Maybe you try something new and discover a talent you didn't know you had. Maybe you visit a place and feel an inexplicable sense of home, like you've been there before in dreams. These preview experiences aren't accidents. They're not coincidences. They're carefully orchestrated glimpses designed to prepare you for what's coming. They're building your capacity to receive and recognize opportunity when it fully presents itself. But here's where most people make their biggest mistake. They try to force these previews into full experiences. They meet someone interesting and immediately try to turn it into a relationship. They discover a new interest and immediately try to turn it into a career. They have a moment of clarity and immediately try to restructure their entire life around it. The preview stage isn't about taking action. It's about building recognition. It's about training your system to identify the frequencies you'll need to tune into when the real opportunities arrive. Think of it like learning to recognize a voice in a crowded room. First, you have to know what that voice sounds like before you can pick it out of the noise. These previews are also tests of your readiness. How do you respond when you get a taste of something greater? Do you grasp at it desperately? Do you dismiss it as too good to be true? Or do you receive it with gratitude and curiosity, allowing it to expand your sense of what's possible? Your response to these preview experiences determines how quickly you move through the remaining phases, because what comes next is the most challenging part of the entire process. This is what I call the final resistance phase, and it's where most people turn back just steps before their breakthrough arrives. Right before your new reality fully manifests, your old identity will make one last desperate attempt to keep you exactly where you are. This resistance doesn't come from outside forces. It doesn't come from other people trying to hold you back. It comes from within you, from the part of your psyche that's terrified of change, even positive change. This internal resistance is incredibly sophisticated. It will use your own wisdom against you. It will present logical arguments for why you should abandon your path. It will remind you of every time you failed before. It will whisper that you're being unrealistic, that people like you don't get to have lives like this, that you should be grateful for what you already have and stop reaching for more. The resistance will also show up through the people around you, not because they want to hurt you, but because your transformation challenges their stagnation. When you start vibrating at a different frequency, it makes others unconsciously uncomfortable. They'll try to pull you back into old patterns of thinking and being without even realizing they're doing it. You might find that conversations with family members become more tense. Friends who used to support your dreams suddenly become skeptical. Colleagues who used to enjoy your company now seem irritated by your presence. This isn't because you've done anything wrong. It's because you're changing, and change in one person forces everyone around them to confront the possibility of change in their own lives. During this phase, doubt will feel more convincing than it ever has before. You'll question everything you've been feeling and experiencing. You'll wonder if you've been reading meaning into meaningless events. You'll consider whether you should just accept your current reality and stop hoping for something different. This is the moment when most people give up, when the pressure feels too intense, when the unknown feels too uncertain, when the familiar seems safer than the possible. They convince themselves they were being foolish, that breakthrough stories happen to other people, that they should be more realistic about their limitations. But if you're still here, if you're still listening, it means you're not most people. It means something inside you recognizes the truth of what I'm sharing. It means you've come too far to turn back now. The intensity of this resistance is directly proportional to the magnitude of what's waiting for you. The stronger the pushback, the bigger the breakthrough that's about to unfold. This resistance isn't evidence that you're on the wrong path. It's confirmation that you're closer than you've ever been. Here's what you need to understand about navigating this final resistance. First, expect it. When it shows up, don't be surprised. Don't interpret it as a sign that you should quit. Recognize it as the last obstacle between you and everything you've been working toward. Second, use this resistance as fuel. Every doubt, every fear, every logical argument for why you should give up becomes energy you can channel toward your breakthrough. The more intense the resistance, the more power you have available to push through it. Third, remember that this resistance is temporary. It's not a permanent state. It's a phase, and like all phases, it will pass. The question isn't whether you'll get through it. The question is whether you'll get through it while maintaining your vision, or whether you'll let it convince you to settle for less than you deserve. During this final resistance phase, time will start behaving differently. Minutes will feel like hours, days will feel like weeks, but simultaneously, moments will feel eternal. This temporal distortion is your consciousness existing in multiple timelines at once, the timeline where you're still becoming and the timeline where you've already arrived. This isn't your imagination playing tricks on you. This is what happens when you're operating at the edge of a major life transition. You're being given time to fully integrate everything you've learned, to become comfortable with the idea of success, to start seeing yourself as someone who naturally attracts victory instead of someone who has to fight for every small win. You're literally rewiring your identity at the deepest level. The person you've been is dying, and the person you're becoming is being born. And like any birth, it's messy, it's uncomfortable, and it requires you to push through moments when you think you can't go any further. But here's what nobody tells you about this identity. Death and rebirth process. It's not just who can handle success, about you becoming successful. It's about you becoming someone who can sustain it, someone who can use it to create even more value in the world. Because the truth is, the breakthrough that's coming isn't just about getting what you want. It's about becoming who you need to be to serve at the level you're being called to serve. So if you're recognizing these patterns unfolding in your life right now, if something deep inside you is resonating with everything I've shared, then you need to understand what this moment represents. You didn't find this video by accident. You were guided to it because you're ready to receive this information, ready to recognize the signs that have been surrounding you, ready to trust the process that's been orchestrating your transformation long before you became consciously aware of it. The dissolution, the amplification, the previews, the resistance, these aren't separate events happening randomly in your life. They're part of one unified sequence designed to prepare you for the breakthrough that's already on its way. Every challenge you've faced has been building your capacity to handle what's coming. Every moment of doubt has been strengthening your faith. Every time you almost gave up but didn't, you proved to yourself and the universe that you're ready for what's about to unfold. Your breakthrough isn't just possible, it's inevitable, and it's closer than you think. The signs are all around you right now. The synchronicities, the heightened sensitivity, the dreams, the resistance, the previews of what's possible. These aren't coincidences. They're confirmations that everything is unfolding exactly as it should. Trust the process, trust yourself, and remember, you were meant to see this video before it finally happens, because when it does, you'll understand that every single moment led you here.